So it seems like everyone and their grandma has at least heard of Dungeons and Dragons. A typical interaction might go something like,
"Oh, I know that game. They played it on The Big Bang Theory. Have you seen that show? You remind me of Sheldon."
"Grandmama, no!" It's become something of a phenomena recently. And strangely enough, I used to be adamant about not playing. I had this weird notion that if I could just avoid playing the quintessential nerd game that nerds play, then I could safely say that I wasn't a true nerd.
What do I look like? Some kind of schmebulon? I wouldn't be caught dead playing that game. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a Magic the Gathering deck to build tonight and a new One Piece episode to watch, after which I'll be replaying Pokemon Yellow for the 11th time. Thank you very much.
I definitely wasn't the most self-aware person. I guess I was afraid of going full tilt into my interests for fear of what the public perception of me would be. Obviously, that's stupid. But thankfully, around 2013 era, I finally dislodged the stick in my butt and decided to give it a try. And by it, I mean Pathfinder, not the vehicle.
What's Pathfinder?
I'm glad you asked, weird child. Okay, so I'm sure some of you watching are new to the whole tabletop RPG thing. So let me educate you on some stuff. First, there are two main D20 systems for fantasy role-playing.
What's a D20 system?
Aw, he's so cute, not knowing anything and such. But you can't stay here. You need to go back to your family. Go on, kid. Be free. Just go. A D20 system is a method of playing a game that uses different kinds of dice, the 20-sided die or D20 being the primary die used. So there's two main fantasy games that use the D20 system. Dungeons & Dragons, which is currently in its 5th iteration, aptly called 5th edition, or 5e if you're in a hurry, and the other is Pathfinder. Pathfinder is kind of interesting because it was created as basically a modified version of 3.5 edition D&D. The primary difference between the two current versions of each game is the complexity of the rules, as well as a few name changes like Game Master instead of Dungeon Master, and so on. So for you new players out there, I'm willing to bet most of you are being introduced to 5th edition D&D, which I gotta say is easy. The rules are streamlined for quicker play, and a greater focus was placed on the Dungeon Masters for having the final judgment call on rulings in their games, instead of having to constantly search for that one obscure ruling on a very specific or rare situation that leaves us all waiting to get back to the game. This kind of allows for a more fun trumps the rules style of game to become more prominent. Not everyone was into it, but honestly, I think it's one of the best ways to be introduced into the world of RPGs. Pathfinder, on the other hand, is what we in the field like to call crunchy, okay? D&D 5e, soggy cornflakes. Pathfinder, fresh out the box, Captain Flip-Flap and Crunch. What does that mean? Well, whereas leveling up in 5e takes 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you're a spellcaster, leveling up in Pathfinder can take an hour or more to pick all the right feats, optimize your skill points, recalculate base attack bonuses, combat maneuver defense, pick your spells, adjust damages, and yeah, you get the picture. It's number crunchy, but it's still a lot of fun. It's just a big commitment to learn and play. Boy oh boy, luckily for me, that's how I started, with Pathfinder. 5e wasn't out at this time, and 4e was a bit of a mixed bag for many people. This left Pathfinder as the preferred way to fantasy roleplay, or at least an alternative for some. Math is a huge requirement, and that ain't my strong suit, but I was determined. I wanted to see what this whole role-playing thing was all about, so I started examining the races and classes and settled on a half-elf cleric of some thunder fire god, I don't remember. And thus, Malkashar was born, conceived, created. Created's probably the best way to put it. To be honest, I didn't have much of a backstory put in place at this point, but the character was functional, so I was clear to start playing. I was soon introduced to the other characters of our new adventuring party. Joral, a knight for justice that was a bit on the slow side. Zed, a mysterious half-elf warrior with a bit more facial hair than one might expect a half-elf to have. And finally, Elise. Oh, sweet, sweet child Elise. She was a badass elf ninja assassin with exceptionally high dexterity. And only 5 wisdom. That's amazingly low. Wisdom is the attribute that determines perception, judgment, survival, willpower, among other things. Low in a D20 game typically means an 8 or a 9 in an attribute, not a 5. But hey, she was otherwise death incarnate. And so, with this motley crew, we journeyed together to eliminate a troublesome tribe of goblins. And so begins our story. Thanks for watching this video, and sorry I cut it off right at the good part. I intended to make one long video, but I ended up running out of time for my personal deadline, and I decided to split it up into 2 parts. Part 2 will be coming out next month, so if you are interested and you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing so you get notified when the next video comes out, because that's what subscribing is. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch this. And have a great Halloween! And if you're watching this in the future and it's not Halloween, just have a gosh darn good day! Alright? Love you. Bye-bye.